Are recording. Welcome to the Downtown Management Commission meeting. It is 4:01 p.m. March 12th, 2024, and I will call roll. Susan Newsom. Here. Don Poe.
Here.
Ooh, we cannot hear you. Can you try again?
Act it out.
Here.
Oh, well, we had this problem last time.
I am
Can we
here.
make sure the speakers
talking.
on our meeting there? And oh, somebody's going to have to turn on your speaker.
Okay.
I
So
am
we
talking.
can-
I am talking. I am
Gotcha.
talking. I'm talking. Give me a thumbs up to hear me. Now you're muted. I am talking. I am talking. I am talking. Blah 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 blah. Lane is not standing outside. The lane hears me, but the room doesn't hear me. So Don is working because Lane hears me.
So shy. I just unmuted. So now you can hear us.
Don talking. I'm talking. Hello, anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Now we're talking. Tiny bubbles in the
Now we
water.
can't hear. Oh, yeah, I know.
Makes me
I don't know if
happy.
So
we muted
mute-
that last time.
Mute that one.
Makes me feel fine. Jingle bells. On Thursday, it's going to be jingle
Hey.
bells.
Don, can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Oh. But we're coming to you through Regan's laptop. So let us know if you are not hearing somebody speak, because I don't know that the microphones across the room, and I'm not picking everybody up. So, but
Yeah, it sounds crummy.
It's he said it sounds crummy. So I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, Reagan, if you don't need your laptop, if you put it kind of over by in the middle.
Okay,
of
I
the
still
room,
need it when
but
I
then you
present,
can't
but
do
I can
much.
just go. I'll just move over. Okay.
Sorry, I can't be there. It's just similar city meetings are going on with for my family at the same time, and it just makes life hard.
all right. Now let's start the first 5 minutes of this.
Welcome to the Downtown Management Commission meeting. It is March 12th, 2024, and I will call roll. Susan Newsom. Still here. Don Poe.
Remote listening.
Stephanie Tree. Here. And Justin Powell. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the January. Second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any members of the public present?
Any members of
That's good. Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. Do any commissioners have questions for staff regarding any topics on the agenda?
I don't mind taking a moment, pleasure to some members in the transportation staff here. We have Steve Rios, just starting with the city as our transportation planning manager, and Allison Moore Farrell, who's been with us for some time and has taken over the micromobility work. They submitted some information to you in the consent agenda related to micromobility. Happy to be here to answer questions. But if there aren't any, we just wanted to give you some FaceTime with some new folks and
Thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, happy to answer any questions on the update from the micromobility program. And we received an email earlier today, and I just want to apologize. It sounds if there was feelings of misrepresentation in the opening to that update. of information regarding we said expansion received broad support from stakeholders, boards and commissions, as well as council at their meeting in January 2023. So I do apologize if that feels misrepresented. It was a generalization to move forward with the update. So I do apologize for not providing more detail and more nuance of what this commission has shared before. So you know, I do apologize for that, and we can certainly make those adjustments on any communication going forward. But happy
When
to.
is
question.
this going to be presented to council? Can this be changed before presenting to council?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we'll next be sharing an update on the shared micromobility program to the Transportation Advisory Board in April, and we'll be sharing an update on the program to council in May. So we can certainly make those updates to the language before that.
Great, just because everyone may not see the sentence that was called out. There is one sentence that said, expansion received broad support from stakeholders, boards, and commissions. And I just didn't feel that the Downtown Management Commission's voice had been, while we may not have final say or whatever, we were presented, and I would say that we've had enough conversations through our commission that we didn't feel like we would necessarily be in broad support of it. And so I didn't want to have, I don't want to speak out of line of the rest of the commission members, but with a line that said that there was broad support from commissions, that's what I was talking about. And also likewise, I don't know if Downtown Boulder Partnership would have any, I think there's goods and bads to everything. But I wouldn't say broad support would be the term for what is coming out of the commission. And I didn't know if DBP had a different opinion too.
People looking at me. I haven't had a chance to review this with our board of directors, so we would certainly welcome a chance. We have a board meeting on Thursday. We can discuss that at that time. We plan to come to council as well.
Yeah, we can. We can talk to you.
Remind me your names one more time.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Allison.
Allison. Steven. Okay. I'm Stephanie. I wanted to say that I appreciated the update and the detail around it, and also was excited to see the positive impact on Boulder's climate goals, which are important, and I think why we're doing this, one of the many reasons. And I wanted to ask, also in light of the new signage, which I think is really creative and appeals to the rider population, how can you enforce, are there other ways to enforce the rules around kind of scooter mobility? I saw that CU just like gives every student a pass, and is there any like accountability or ways that CU or Lime or the city can help keep students accountable to following the rules? My thought being, if there's no consequences for dropping a scooter in the middle of the sidewalk and you can continuously have access to your pass without any consequences, how do we like enforce people to just do better?
It's a great question. So just some clarity there. So CU actually provides e-cycle passes to all students. Lime does not have a pass that can be provided. So just, I know I spoke about both. So both B-Cycle and Lime are part of the shared micromobility program. But that's for B-Cycle. Lime doesn't have any sort of pass program, so it's individual ride basis. And in terms of enforcement and incentives and disincentives, if you park in a mandatory parking zone, which is currently, the maps are on the update, currently in the downtown area, as well as CU's campus in the University Hill Commercial District, if you park in a mandatory parking zone outside of a Lime Grove, so the painted green rectangles, you continue to be charged on your account, and you keep getting notifications saying you continue to be charged, you continue to charge. Please put it in a Lime Grove. So that is one way of a disincentive. You continue to be charged. We're actually, and mentioned in the update, we're expanding the University Hill mandatory parking zone to include the neighborhood area. And we're actually also adding on a fine for misparked scooters, so outside of those Lime Groves. So Again, as a disincentive, we've learned that we really need folks to be following the rules and changing that user behavior to align with the rules that have been established, that are established to meet our city goals. So those are some of the disincentives. We've also been working with Boulder Police. It is under Boulder Police purview to enforce. We recognize Boulder Police has a lot on their enforcement agenda, things to do. So we've shared that information, but we recognize that it's not going to be everywhere, and we need to look at other ways of enforcement, but also education, which is why we did that education campaign, and we're restarting that again next week. So we'll have some updated signage and everything. Again, University Hill is a large focus because there's kind of been a lot of friction in that area, but we'll also be putting some signage down downtown as well.
Okay, and you said next week, we're gonna start that, and when is the new finding gonna start?
It'll start once the mandatory parking zone is implemented in University Hill, which is in about 2 to 3 weeks, weather dependent. So we're,
So before the spring.
yes, that was the
Okay.
intention.
Okay, yeah.
So I say weather dependent. Lime has ordered the materials. They are going to be putting in, the paint and everything, but again, just weather dependent. So about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, and you sound like a good way to kind of deal with some of the negative externalities that we've been experiencing in the downtown. So I wanted to see if any other commission members had comments about this. I think we have addressed concerns not about the scooters, but just about the negative impacts of just not following right of way, or just being, running over pedestrians or whatever it is. But any other commissioners have comments, questions, or?
I have a question. Has there been any discussion about expanding the mandatory parking zone in downtown?
We haven't had any discussions of that at this time. We've been focusing on the University Hill area because these are really data-driven decisions where we want feedback from, from residents, from business owners, from everyone involved in the community, but we're really looking at it also as data-driven decisions, and we're seeing more usage in the University Hill area, as you'll see on the maps in that area. It's very purple around the university in Uni Hill. And I also linked in this document a regional online dashboard that the Denver Regional Council of Governments hosts, and they host it for all the cities in the region who have micromobility, and it's a third-party provider that uploads all this information. So it's a really neat dashboard. I recommend you digging in if you want, but it's linked in. So you can see the usage by time of day and all of this to really understand where the usage is, and then we can also see where scooters are being parked, and really kind of understanding where folks are going with that. So a lot of that is driving our decisions to manage that parking. And we've had questions, why aren't there mandatory parking zones in the whole city? And part of why that is because when you create a mandatory parking zone, you need to then identify locations where folks can park. If you're identifying places where they can't, so that takes up public right of way, and we need to identify that. So it's really strategic looking at that data where that makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, but if you see needs, again, we are looking at feedback, and we'll kind of dig in further if we see more of a need in other areas.
Okay. I would say I live just a little bit east of downtown, and I think it's gotten better. I mean, there are fewer like upside down scooters and things like that. So yeah.
As you know, we had a moratorium on e-scooters, and a lot of other cities nationwide, scooters were dropped in cities and increased and things like that. So we have, we're more strategic about that. So hopefully those are.
Speaking of the how all this transportation stuff works, there's a new building that has been was granted much lower parking spots than generally required at 15th and Canyon, the new Olive building. They have, it's just about to open. They could have between 700 to 1,000 people living there, depending on how many people they decide, any one person decides to put in their bedroom. And they have 101 parking spots. And so I do see that is a main thoroughfare for Boulder High School students. We do have scooters kind of scattered across 15th Street. I see it as part of the slow zone, but as Olive is about to implode into a new dorm in downtown Boulder, I suggest that maybe the parking thing be extended to 16th Street so that the whole radius of Olive be encompassed within the parking and slow zones.
Okay, that's great feedback. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've actually been working with that development on their eco passes, very much based on their location. So we'll keep an eye on that area once they do have occupancy to really understand kind of how scooters are functioning in that area. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, we do see scooters littered on the street from time to time. I'm sure Lime keeps track of where they have them, but with Boulder High students tracking up and down there, that's a high thoroughfare for students too, for walking.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you. And like I said, if you have additional questions, my information's in here. I'm happy to share anything else if you have additional questions, and we'll be sharing updates with Ab and council. Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much.
I have a question about the mobile vending carts. Lane, I think this is your territory. Can you give us a rundown on, it looks like we're full. So who are the new people and who are the existing people?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm happy to fill in on that. Existing, I'll try to do this here. So starting at 11th and Pearl, we have a longtime vendor, which was Pearl Street Grill. He also goes by the name The Stand. By his own permit, he's not allowed to be out before 10 p.m. So you probably don't see him unless you're a night owl and a late night social bug. But he's very welcome as he provides a little bit of food relief to those who have been overextending themselves. And as we move down towards Prana, of course, we have the very friendly Freddy's Hot Dogs, Mike. Coming across the street, we currently have King Como Quesadillas as you cross over Broadway. They've also found that their product is much more desirable after dark, so they don't really do any lunch sales. Right across from them, between Haagen-Dazs and Helly Hansen, will be a great new vendor called Kindness Gemstones. And actually 3 years ago, before the pandemic, we had Soul Stones down there. So it's almost an identical product line. And she's coming forward to take over that vacant space. Then if you move down towards the Capital One Cafe, okay, sorry. Where the jewelry store is what used to be the Sunspot, the eyewear cart. That was then subsequently purchased by Chris Norris, who runs the hat cart. And you'll notice that he has both of those carts that he runs concurrently down near the Visitor Information Center. And he does a great job. He's a huge friend of the city and of the PD. He's got eyes on everything. Okay, I regress back to then the jewelry cart will now be a really cool concept that apparently already does events in Boulder called Denver Pops. And they're gourmet popsicles made out of a variety of frozen fruits and interesting flavors. So he's going to be very near where all of our performers are with their crazy acts and their tight wires. So I think that's a really good fit. And then coming across near the visitor center, again, as I said, Chris has the hat cart, the sunglass cart. We have Chiri's Momo, which won a DBP award last year for Rising Star. They also subsequently have bought the old Fast Eddie's cart, which had been out of service for several years. It's not out much. They're not having as much traction with that. But again, they keep both of those carts running when possible in the busy times. And then the last cart in the 1300 block would be Boulder Bowls, the beans and rice cart, which again was a great success story. It's something that previously had been run by Javier, and after the pandemic, he was tired of it. One of his employees, husband and wife team, bought it from him, and they've been running it. And then jumping across by Avante, we will have a brand new concept, which I'm excited about, a very French style fresh flower cart. She's calling it Grace Fleurs. And so she'll be kind of basically out there in front of Hurdles Jewelry and across from Avante. So again, I think that's a really good place to reach out to folks who enjoy the finer things in life. And then seasonally, we have the owner of Pizza Colori is running the ice cream cart with Glacier Ice Cream, locally branded Boulder product, out seasonally. And he's right by the children's play area with all those marble animals. Questions?
That's a great mix.
I'm excited. So not since before the pandemic have we filled all 13 cart spaces. So this is it's a nice return to the status quo.
That's great. I
Maybe
hope they're successful.
One thing that's interesting is you talked about several places that don't see a good return during the day. How does that differ from pre-pandemic to now?
Well, and actually Bettina's there and she can probably fill you in better than I with the upstairs office vacancy rates being quite a bit considerably higher than our downstairs retail. Having just done a lot of travels along Route 66 a couple weeks ago, I can tell you we are an unbelievably lucky city for our retail vacancy being so low. But in any case, a lot of the stuff upstairs no longer has the folks who need to rush out and make lunch purchases and quick grab and goes. So I hear really great reports from Mike at Freddy's and from Cherry's Momo, even Boulder Bowls. Chris Norris, the hat vendor, he's actually had some record sales, particularly in 2023. So he's very happy. But I think overall, we're just not, sorry about that. We're not seeing as many of those folks coming out to grab and go products. So as I said, one of the vendors by his permit is only allowed to be out after 10 p.m. And that's because there's so many restaurants in the 1100 block. They didn't want the competition from him. He's happy with his late night service. The pub loves it because they can't really keep up with the need at that time of night. And then again, the quesadilla cart, they actually go to the tasting rooms and they have a really good slot at some of our tasting rooms during the evening hours, and then they do late nights on Pearl.
Very good.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions from commissioners for staff on the consent agenda? Okay, sounds like we're gonna move on that. Fund financial, also not discussed unless there are any questions posed by commission.
The updated report. It says 2023 year to date. Are these final figures yet?
They should be filing their final. Good questions, but most should be only.
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well. In the past, we've had the year to date before, also stated. It's always handy to say what the year to date is, just so that it's defined in the dashboard, so that we can, because in a way, I didn't examine it as much. I assumed being March that it was full 2023. So that is correct. It is the full 2023.
Unless we hear from Elliot, otherwise, yes.
So then on parking revenue being about $2 million lower, is that because of parking's like reserve spots like in the behind BMocha, or is that the on-demand parking that's made it be so much lower than budgeted?
So that's a really great question. Previous to going gateless, we invoiced for parking permits quarterly in the month in advance of the beginning of the quarter. With the change to Metropolis, we're now invoicing monthly at the start of the month that the payments due. So as a result, some of the revenues for 2023 parking permits it used to get accrued in advance, where we were in December of 2022, we invoiced for permits that were approved to 2023. This year we did not have that revenue coming. We did not invoice for permits for 2024 until January. So that's the largest impact to parking revenues, but you'll also, that we did reduce the 3-hour rate from $3 to $2.01 transaction. We also reduced the first hour rate by 49 cents. I got that rate. And so we're anticipating a reduction in parking revenues as a result of that. So those two things combined have led to that delta. So we'll see higher impact. We'll see this normalize a bit over the year in 2024.
Do we want to wait to reconsider what keep that price and you're evaluating that? Like to
Absolutely. So we'll also notice that with we also any reduction in revenue, we will also operations also see that so we'll continue to monitor that, make sure that our projections for operations versus as we anticipate. And if we do need to make adjustments, we'll certainly be working against the
When is the debt service retired?
this is our last year.
Yay.
And I also think Elliot was correct anything that I have said. But, hopefully. Anyhow, yes, I believe this is our last year of that. Elliot is here to correct me.
Hi there, commissioners. My apologies. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. I apologize. I am having wonderful times with connections to Zoom. So just to clarify, yeah, the debt service has expired. And I was just coming out of the tail end of Chris's conversation regarding the decrease in revenue for parking revenue, Don, that you proposed. Did you get your answer for that, or is there some more that I can clarify on that? And you're on mute, just as a heads up.
Since I'm having a hell of a time hearing Chris over the microphone, I assume, Elliot, you understood what he was saying just because you know it. But I heard because of the way that it's billing from quarterly to monthly, and that's one thing. And then maybe something about just the rate being a little bit different.
Yeah, so that is correct. So the shift in our policy from going to gateless, we're no longer billing on a quarterly, and it's oddly enough, I was doing the analysis over this on a quarterly over year-over-year quarter basis, and we saw in Q4 a dramatic decrease in revenue, and that was because of way that we are now doing billing on permits. It's now on a monthly basis, and the way that we're bringing in revenue has timed a little bit different. We're really expecting to see a kind of a higher year for 2024 because of that. So some of the revenue that would have traditionally been collected in 23 is now spilling into early of 24. That's the majority of the reason why we're seeing, from what I'm seeing in analysis of revenue decreases there for the parking.
Maybe my other question, as long as I'm talking and then I'll stop, is the leases, rents, and royalties is about 40% of what was budgeted.
Yep. And I do remember saying that last commission meeting that we would expect to see some revenue and did some more digging. And the policy that was kind of being followed with repairs and tenant improvements actually reduced our revenue, because rather than doing a direct expense for those types of costs, we just absorbed them through the revenue. So our property management company would then offset our revenue because of those expenses. So that's one of the major reasons why we saw such a decrease in revenue last year, is because we had some major capital expenses that the property management company provided for us. So we, again, through the revenue offset is how we had that change. That said, going forward, we have asked that we can be now more connected to the billing. So we're doing a lot more direct billing. So it works out the same, if you will. It's just we're now putting expenses where expenses should live so that we can show revenue on those tenant properties. We feel it's very important to really have that balanced look on the fund financials. Again, it'll work out about the same, but it's a policy change that we're making this year.
Okay, so you're comfortable with the issues on both of these, and it's this kind of some shifts. It's not that like we're eating something in a bad way.
Correct. Yeah. So with the decrease in those revenues, we were seeing there's actually a decrease in some of the expenses. And even on long term, you may have remembered from when Teresa Pinkel was my predecessor was in this position, she may have mentioned that there's a decrease in credit card processing fees associated with some of these parking revenue. So in order to make money, you have to spend money concept. With our new vendor taking over on the gateless side, they are now also paying those credit card processing fees. So although we may see a decrease in revenue, we're also seeing a decrease in expenses. So it's in some terms a wash, and we're continuing to do an analysis and doing year-over-year comparison of those. And actually, we're doing that here in the very near future, just because we have a full quarter behind us now with our new gateless company and the vendor. We want to make sure that we are trending in the right way. But there's no red flags that I'm seeing that has me concerned for the fund health in a long term for KJID. Great. Any other questions? And it's a little hard to hear anybody that's not sitting right next to the computer. So if I do miss something, please let me know.
Thanks, Elliot.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we have our public safety update. Officer Hartkoff is here. We have 15 minutes to give a general update, and then we'll have some minutes of Q&A. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Sit here so you can get
Yeah, absolutely. First off, Barry Hardkoff, again, interim deputy chief, Boulder PD, and Chief Redfern wishes he could be here. Unfortunately, he's in San Antonio at a conference. I'm going to cover three things for you real quick. I'm going to start off with some staffing. I'm going to cover some data and then get into some highlights. I know that there's some pretty significant events that took place downtown over the last 30 days. I want to give you all some updates on that and then answer the questions. With regards to our staffing, I'm happy to say that our downtown mall teams are fully staffed now. We brought one additional officer over in February to augment a two-person team. And so now we have three teams that are fully staffed, two-person teams that are fully staffed for the downtown mall area. And their coverage is continuing to be the same, which is Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. typically. We are still at 6 for our staffing for our impact team, which for those that don't remember, the impact team, that's our team that works from 5 p.m. until 3 a.m. Typically, they have been assigned to the Hill predominantly. Last year, they were at 4 officers, so they spent most of their time on the Hill. We went ahead and added 2 more officers to that team this year, and part of the expectation with adding to that team is that they provide better coverage down along the Pearl Street Mall area during those evening and early morning hours from, again, 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. So that increase in staffing has actually led to some increases or some interesting stats that have come out of it, in that our proactive policing has gone up significantly. Our pedestrian contacts over the last month compared to 2023 has increased by 400%, which is very significant. And I think that is a direct correlation to the increase in officers, the two-person officers that we have downtown. They're much more assertive. They're getting out, they're making a lot more contacts. That's very helpful in terms of increasing our exposure to the public. We've also seen an increase with regards to our traffic stops downtown, which is another benefit, unless you're one of the people that's getting stopped for a traffic violation, then I don't think you'd consider it a benefit. But again, that's some exposure that I think is helpful. Getting the public to see our officers are out and about, which has led to the data part of it, which is that unfortunately our stats are slightly higher in terms of assaults, serious assaults. They're a little bit higher in terms of, I think they're actually, interestingly enough, flat, close to being about the same in terms of robberies, which is interesting because robberies have been a big topic down on the mall for the last 30 days or so. The one thing that we've seen a significant increase in is shoplifting, which I think is not going to be a surprise to anybody. When you look at calls for service down around the mall area, they're at a lower rate over the last 2 months than we've had in the last 3 years, which is kind of interesting because we've seen a slight increase in certain crimes, but it's interesting that our calls for service has dropped just a little bit. I don't understand what that correlation is quite yet. I don't know if it's because we do have an increased presence on the mall, and that's offset that call for service a little bit. But I'm eager to see what happens as we get into the warmer months. Any questions about the data at this point?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You talked about robberies and assaults. How many of those occurred downtown in a month? Just roughly.
In a month, usually we have about 8 in terms of assaults. We can have around 8 assaults, give or take, and that's just simple. We call them simple assaults, non-aggravated assaults. Aggravated assaults, which include either a weapon or serious bodily injury, we usually see 3 to 5 of those each month. And again, it's going to vary. We're going to start getting into our warmer months. Warmer months are going to bring in some different clientele in terms of unhoused. And in my experience, being involved in this for 30 plus years here in Boulder, we're going to see an increase as everything warms up. And all of you that have been around Boulder for a long time, you know it. It's just we're going to see this increase. But yeah, over the last couple months, we've been right around that 3 to 5 for serious assaults and maybe 5 to 8 for other assaults. Robberies, usually 2 or 3, which is down from what we had before. But keep in mind, a robbery can be something as it's not what we typically picture on TV. Sometimes it can be something as simple as somebody walking into a store, grabbing an item that they wanted to shop with, and as they're walking out, and a clerk gets in front of them to try to stop them, and they use force and push that clerk out of the way. We are actually categorizing that as a robbery. And I know that we had a significant increase in that over at Circle K last year, and that has gone down quite a bit because Circle K has actually done quite a bit of stuff to help mitigate the issues that they've had, and we've been working with them to try to deal with that.
Thanks.
Very long answer to your question.
No, that gives good perspective.
Have the downtown robberies occurred when police are walking the mall?
Yes, so they do occur during that time frame.
Yeah.
I don't know what specifically we've had officers on the mall at the time. It would surprise me if it occurred when we had officers on the mall at that time. You know, it's a pretty significant area, and the way that the robberies are being carried out, honestly, unless the officers are actually looking into each of these stores, they may not notice that something has gone awry, especially the last robbery that we had at Atencio. It was very, very quick, and there, unless our officers were right on top of it, they wouldn't have been able to do anything with regards to it. I know that they were on duty. I was on duty as well, and I heard that call come out, and I know that they were on foot, got over to that store very, very quickly and started dealing with it. So we do have officers that are on foot. Hopefully they can help to mitigate some of that. But in these 2 robberies that we did have, which is going to lead us right into the highlights. So thank you for that segue. That's
It will hopefully dissuade some of the people that are opportunists. It's not necessarily going to dissuade those that have a plan in place and they come to downtown Boulder with the intention of committing a robbery. They're just going to simply wait until the time seems to be right for them with their MO, and then they're going to take advantage of it. So speaking of that, the highlights, we had the significant robbery at the jewelry store, which happened early February, as I recall, in terms of timing, where it was essentially a store takeover, for lack of a better term. I'm happy to say that we did make some arrests on that. This isn't something that we want necessarily to be public because it is still under investigation, but there were 4 suspects in that. We were able to arrest 3 of the 4 suspects. It's still an ongoing investigation, working on it, and hopefully we can get to a point at some point, or to a point in this case where we can put out a press release, we can go more public with what we know about the entire case. So that's some good news there. The second one, we are continuing to work on leads with regards to that. We do not have a suspect in that case. We don't have an arrest that's been made. There is quite a bit of video downtown. Our suspect in that case was wearing a COVID mask, which made it difficult for us to be able to identify him. We're looking for video that maybe shows our suspect without that mask on. We can use that to hopefully identify him and move forward with the case on that. In terms of any other significant cases, we did have a shooting downtown that happened last month. It happened during the early morning hours. I don't know if many of you are aware of it. It was an isolated event that did not necessarily, it was accidental based on everything that we're discovering, involving 2 individuals, and was not necessarily a threat to the general public as a whole. And they were taken care of very quickly, but nobody died or anything like that. Everybody's fine.
I know it's inside the vehicle.
It was inside the vehicle. Yep. So those are the highlights. Questions?
You said that you were fully staffed. Do you still think, given recent events or any changes year over year, that you would prefer to have more staffing? And that, I mean, obviously you would always want more staffing, but my context here is that I feel like the ambassadors are also like, they feel over capacity. I can go and talk to them occasionally, and I'm like, this person's breaking this law, and I'm like, did you do something about it? And they're like, well, I gotta take care of this first. And yeah, these are like minor things that don't seem like they're, people have large speakers, or there are dogs everywhere on the mall. Like, these are small things, just breaking.
But they add up.
But they add up.
Absolutely.
To the sense of no one follows rules. There's no consequences for following rules. And one person who's off cleaning the public restroom isn't really able to enforce that. And sadly, some of the ambassadors, they don't feel empowered because no one will listen to what they say.
Right.
Because they can't really enforce rules.
Right.
That's not really their job. So what are your thoughts on this general space of rule breaking versus crimes and the impact on the mall?
I'll start off with the staffing part of it, and we'll get to the rule breaking part of it. So staffing, when I first came on the department, I was actually part of the Hill team back in the 90s, to show my age, and there was 2 of us. And there were virtually nobody was riding their bicycles on the mall. We didn't have a lot of animals on the mall. People were smoking on the mall. There weren't those low level crimes taking place, and we took that very, very seriously. We now have 3 2-person teams on the mall. When we had these robberies, we actually hired some off-duty officers to come in for overtime and assign them to the mall area for high visibility patrolling, to try to dissuade anybody else from pulling off a robbery. And so that seemed to help to some degree. But again, that's adding another 1 or 2 officers to these 6 officers. So that's putting 8 officers in this 4 square block area. We have Lowry Lane, and then you've got the at least to the north, and so it increases a little bit. But I was down on the mall yesterday taking care of something. I saw 3 or 4 people riding their bikes. I saw a couple people with their dogs. I saw a group of 4 or 5 that were sitting smoking. It's a problem. If I had the opportunity, absolutely, I'd love to increase our footprint down on the mall by at least another 2-person team if possible. The fact that we have ambassadors that are down here that are overwhelmed, we have officers that are down here that are overwhelmed. We're to the point where we are unfortunately overlooking these low-level crimes, which in my opinion, when you overlook the low-level crimes, it empowers certain groups to do other things that are considered low-level, such as the shoplifting, such as some assaults, things like that, minor assaults. And the best way for us to combat that is to have more officers down here to help support the ambassadors that are here. So if I had my way, absolutely, we'd have more officers downtown. We are still short-staffed when it comes to the impact team. We're at 6 officers on the impact team. That impact team is supposed to have 12 officers assigned to them. So there's 6 officers down for our evening and early morning hours. Right now, we're 19 officers down overall with regards to where we're at for staffing. Ideally, we'd like to get much closer, and I know that Chief Redfern has mentioned this numerous times. We'd like to get closer to that number, that magic number that we're supposed to be at, so that we can ask for 10 more officers, 15 more officers to help augment what we currently have and help bolster what we have downtown, because downtown really is the anecdotally, in my opinion, they tend to be the epicenter for a lot of the issues that take place. All of our unhoused individuals that end up in Boulder initially come downtown, has been my experience. And they spend quite a bit of time downtown. It's unfortunate where all of our tourists end up as well. So it's a bad mix of certain groups that tend to be more of our repeat offenders and then our tourists. So we've got to be able to do something to try to deal with that. We do have the 6. I am absolutely open to other suggestions. We're trying to staff as many people as we can, or upstaff as much as we can. But absolutely open to suggestions. If the ambassadors are feeling overwhelmed, then I would love to hear about that and figure out how we can help support them.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting comment about the 90s compared to today. And like, it seems like more police presence doesn't always mean more people are following rules. And the whole point of the ambassadors was to have a non-police presence, right? And so I guess maybe I'm interested to just explore the role and responsibility of the ambassador compared to the police, and like how are there other ways to incentivize people to follow, or encourage people to follow rules, so that we get back to essentially the mall as it was designed to be.
Well, I think my experience in seeing some coming down to the mall and seeing some of the people that are, do you mind if I sit down to cut some? There, no, I'm not standing over you. My experience is a lot of them aren't, and you all work downtown. You guys are very familiar with downtown, so you may have a different perspective on it. But I feel a lot of it is that the signs are up, but people don't pay attention to it. People that I've contacted before and said, "Hey, you shouldn't have your dog on the mall." By and large, but my mistake, didn't realize it. I'm going to step off, and they'll walk to one of the alleys, and they're good about it. Every once in a while, we'll get one that is very confrontational about it. But it feels to me like a lot of this is an educational piece more than anything else. And I feel like there needs to be more of education associated with it. I'm not saying we put a bunch of cops downtown and start writing tickets to everybody. I don't think that's going to accomplish anything other than aggravate a lot of people. I think our best bet is to talk to people. Again, when I was down on the mall in the 90s, that's what we did. Walked around. I didn't write a ticket all week long. It was more of just talking to people, educating them on what was going on, why we are downtown, why we have these rules downtown, why we don't want bicycles on the Pearl Street Mall, why we don't want people with their dogs on the Pearl Street Mall. And by and large, there was a lot of cooperation. And I just think that there is a significant change in the types of people that we deal with now than what we had back in the 90s. I was in a meeting that I was talking about, and I hate to keep going back to the good old days, but when I worked down on the mall back in the 90s, we had about 15 unhoused people. that we knew, that we dealt with on a regular basis. And by and large, they were just drunks. If they could find some marijuana, then they were living high and loving it, and things were great. But we didn't have really any issues with them. Then meth became a problem. And with meth coming into, I worked in Arch for 6 years, back up until 2013. And from 2008 to 2013, I couldn't find meth. We couldn't buy meth anywhere in Boulder. It wasn't anywhere. You had to go to other towns. Nowadays, it's happening with all of our unhoused and a bunch of other people, and it's leading to additional issues for us. So this is a very complex problem. You're right. I don't think throwing more cops at it is the solution. I think it would help find the solution, and that I think there needs to be a piece of education associated with all of this stuff. But then there's also has to be the ability to, when education isn't working, there has to be the ability to hold people accountable. And that's the other part of what we're dealing with. And I'm sure you've heard about it before. We're having issues in that ever since COVID happened, we can't just take people to jail like we used to before. I'm not saying that jail's the solution to everything. It truly is not. But every once in a while, you run across somebody that is not going to cooperate with us. Somebody that is going to continue to break the law. And we need, the best place for them at that point is to be in jail, where they can decompress and they can get off the meth for a day or two. Unfortunately, unless there are certain crimes that they commit, we can't take them to jail any longer. There's jail standards that are arrest standards that are associated with certain crimes, and it means that we have to give them a ticket. And they take that ticket and they throw it on the ground. It used to be, you do that, we're going to take you to jail now. They throw it on the ground, we cut them another ticket, give it to them, they throw it on the ground, we'll cut them another ticket. And all we're doing is now littering, and we're contributing to that littering. So it's a tough situation that we're in that the pandemic and meth and the proliferation, I'm speaking in my opinion now, the proliferation of the mental health issues that we're having, and honestly, as a state, as a county, we could be doing a lot more in terms of mental health, and we're not. And it's leading to us having these individuals that we repeatedly contact, and they get shipped around. We end up with new people coming into town all the time that come in from Denver, that come in from Aurora, that come in from Fort Collins, that come in from out of state, and they'll come here because they either get put on a bus by a Denver cop, for example, or they get told, go to Boulder, they'll give you a tent, they'll feed you, they'll make sure that you get all your medical attention. And obviously we want to be compassionate to our fellow people, but it creates this really interesting situation that is impacting what we're experiencing right now.
May I add a little bit to
Of
the
course.
sort of slippery slope question that you were asking about the ambassadors? And I'm sorry to hear that our ambassadors don't necessarily do work.
Well, I mean, I told them I was in the commission, but they weren't telling everyone.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the optic we want to be presented to the general public. But we compile really robust statistics from the ambassadors, and both the ambassadors and the City of Boulder park rangers do compliance checks. And so we actually track every time there's an ordinance violation, our ambassadors go out and say, hey, did you know that you're not supposed to ride your bike on the bricks? Like, to your point, they will say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Or you're not supposed to have your dog here. They'll say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So we track both compliance and non-compliance of those. And so just in the month of February, for example, there were 18 people who complied with the ordinance and said, sure, no problem. And then there were 10 people who said, probably words I shouldn't say in this room, decided not to. But it's interesting to talk about that, right? And then we also did a little bit of a re-education campaign with Parks and Rec about the dogs, the No Paws on the Bricks campaign. And I think the other thing that's changed is people's relationships with their animals really changed fundamentally in the pandemic. People take their dogs everywhere. It's very easy to say that an animal is a support animal, even if it's not a specifically designated animal. We reached out to some of the businesses to see if they would be willing to post some posters in the windows and say, hey, just a reminder, no paws on bricks, to protect their paws, actually, because in the summertime, bricks get really hot. And a lot of the businesses said, I bring my dog to work. And also, like, we'd rather, we're not going to, this is just a low issue to us, not a challenge. Like, solve the bigger problems, please. We're not going to put up this sign. So at a certain point, we need to, sort of move with the tides, I think. So that's just a little bit of color for some of the other enforcement and education.
It's interesting to talk about Parks and Rec. Are they the ones that do the gardens? Because the other thing that was here in the 90s was Paul Hester during the day.
Paul Hester, he was,
He kicked everybody out.
yes, he was awesome.
They listened to him.
Yeah, that's when we had, the worst thing we ever had was, one of our unhoused ended up with a bag of marijuana seeds and went to all the flower beds and threw the marijuana seeds and all the flower beds. And Paul Hester, the entire summer, was picking marijuana plants out of all of our flower beds. Yes, he was a saint. He was fantastic.
And he sort of took the role of an ambassador in
Yes.
that sense. But to your point, people aren't listening like they used to. I mean, he would take anything from anyone.
Yep. Yeah.
So maybe the Parks and Rec people can assist in that.
And the ambassadors and the urban rangers are fantastic. Every experience I've had with them has been absolutely wonderful. And I think that they offer a great tool to help try to get that education piece out. But
Is this recent, this re-education?
Yeah, it was in February.
Okay. I'm curious if that has an impact, at least among some people.
I mean, we sort of asked the businesses if they would be interested, and they said that they
It's
would
that,
not be
it's
interested.
just for the business, not like the direct public. Okay.
But the education efforts from the park rangers and ambassadors.
Well, maybe the next question should be, should dogs be allowed?
Yep.
If people aren't paying attention and some people support having them, then what's the point of having a prohibition?
You mentioned understaffing in the last meeting. There were a good amount of officers in training.
Yep. So we ended up putting 16 out in the field, and they were spread throughout the watches, and that's what allowed us to then move an officer over to the mall team, and so they've all done very, very well, and we're actually going through another hiring process this week, and I think we've got like 60 applicants. Hopefully we can get some good ones out of that. Any other questions? Well, I'm going to take off and head back to the PD. We had a busy afternoon, unfortunately.
We have an update from Tina.
Great. I sent over a slide deck. I think it looks like it made it out into your packet. And it occurs to me that I could be sending you quarterly ambassador reports as well as just these sort of verbal updates, if that would be helpful for the commissioners, because we do really track this information in very robust ways. So I'll make sure that that's
In comparison to previous periods, right, too. Thanks.
Absolutely. So I just wrapped up my first 90 days as the Downtown Boulder Partnership CEO. So it's been a wonderful time of learning and acclimating and being welcomed into this community. I want to thank all of you and especially the city staff for being so helpful and answering all of my many questions. I'm sure I will continue to ask more. It's particularly exciting to me to see the seasons change right now. I don't know if any of you were downtown on Sunday, but that was a truly glorious kind of quintessential summer day in Boulder. And it was really thrilling to see so many people activating our spaces and all of the street musicians. And it was just a glorious time. So now we're going to have some snow, I understand, on Wednesday. Since we last met, we had our annual DVP Awards Luncheon in early February, thanks to the commissioners who attended that event. That was really wonderful. We gave out 5 awards or 6 awards to, no, 5 awards to different businesses and individuals. And one of the things that I highlighted in my remarks at that luncheon came up earlier today, and that is our 2nd and 3rd floor vacancy. And Dean Callan released statistics at the end of December that show that we're at 28% vacancy in our offices downtown. And when Lane was presenting on the different street cart vendors, we see that in the Monday through Friday daytime traffic. So one of the priorities that we're really identifying and working on is how to activate and really try to bring some people downtown and get those office spaces reactivated. We really do have a very high occupancy rate for the 1st floor, but it's the upper floor that are challenged.
So that 28%, that's spaces available for lease. That
Yeah, that's our vacancy rate.
Okay, so that's all of the offices, even if the lease is still in place.
Yes, and that was as of December 31st. So I'll be watching the figures pretty carefully because there are a lot of leases that were signed prior to the pandemic, 5-year and 10-year leases that are now coming for renewal. So that's been a big topic, and I know Regan is working on some affordable office space initiatives, and the city has some priorities for how to work on this. But these are conversations that I'm having daily with our constituents, especially in my one-on-ones. Wanted to share a little bit with you about our pedestrian counts. So December year over year, go to the next slide. We have a number of ways that we track visitation to the downtown, and December was up 20%, almost 20% last year, which is fantastic, especially considering that we had that really hard fall, the hard beginning to the December shopping center with shopping season with Shop Small Saturday and Black Friday, where we had that massive snowstorm. And so that kind of killed sales. But then the rest of December was fairly seasonable, and we had people coming out quite a bit. So we're happy to see the football returning to downtown. But unfortunately, if you go to the next slide, our sales tax is not showing this return. So people are coming downtown, but they are not necessarily spending 20% more money in our shops and in our restaurants. So this is probably going to be something that we'll be hearing about at the city level. Of course, sort of flat sales tax like this is an area of concern. It's directly correlated, I believe, to this vacancy office space, and also just their uncertainties in the economy. So we're keeping an eye on that, and we're trying to learn from our businesses what is working for them, what promotions are actively helping them be successful. We had a midwinter sale event that was quite successful, and that happened to coincide with Martin Luther King Day in January, and so it was a 3-day weekend and midwinter sales, and the weather was good, which those 3 things are like, if we can have all of those once a month, that would be fantastic because we had a lot of sales then. On the next slide, some things that are coming up. We have updated the banners on the Pearl Street Mall, and this is such a fun, wonderful event. We have student artists who get their work selected to be hung on these banners. We're going to be having a reception, and you're all welcome to come next Tuesday at 5:30. We'll be giving out some special prizes and awards and kicking off Boulder Arts Week. So that will be a exciting event. On the next slide, we also have some treasured events coming back. Taste of Pearl is coming up on April 14th, and that'll be 15 different retailers, and we have 40 different restaurants and beverage suppliers who will be providing tastings and retail stores. So this is a shopping and dining and drinking event, all of the fun things we want to do downtown. And then the Tulip Berry and Elf Festival is happening on April 28th, and the tulips are starting to come through. So hopefully there will be blooming when the berry comes out. I just bought my dress to wear as MC, and I've heard that there are going to be wigs. So if that's for you to come see me embarrass myself in front of a microphone, would be great. And we're always looking for volunteers for those events too, if you're interested. And then we're also looking ahead to our Band on the Brick series. We've almost got the lineup 100% confirmed for that. So that'll be wonderful. And the Boulder County Farmers Market is going to begin operations on the 6th. So they'll be starting to Wednesdays and Saturdays. So with the spring weather comes more activations, more activities. We're excited about that. And then next Saturday, or sorry, this Sunday is the world's shortest St. Patrick's Day parade, which I'm excited to see. Don't be late. But that'll be on the 16th Street and Pearl.
Bring your lawn chair to join in.
Working with businesses on specials and stuff, that has been, I mean, we had the survey, I don't know what it was, but the two top issues were it's too expensive to do anything or eat downtown, mostly eat, to buy lunch and in general. And so I'm curious about what initiatives you're working on to help businesses actually have specials. Not real specials where it's, you know, $20+ lunch or happy hour isn't really happy hour. Like it's not discounted. So just questions about that. Like, I know I always go to the downtown Boulder section, look at who has good happy hours and what are real, what I would consider real happy hours, but it's actually discounted stuff. So curious what you're doing here to kind of address this lunch too expensive and even just in general for a lot of people. I'm not going to go downtown. It's too expensive to eat downtown.
Well, I think in some ways we're at the mercy of the free market, and the cost of doing business is just, it's going up, it's skyrocketing. I'm sure you might be able to tell us a little bit about the materials and goods are just more expensive, labor is more expensive, insurance is more expensive. So unfortunately, they're having to adjust price, and I understand there's a lot of pricing fatigue in the market in general. But we try to encourage people, especially like with the midwinter sales, to incentivize the retailers to cut down on things. But when it comes to things like restaurants where they're having to buy a certain amount of food and there's food waste, it's not like a bag or a piece of jewelry where you can keep it on the shelf for a while and maybe bring it out a couple seasons later. Not that our stores do that because they're all very up to date and very seasonal. But that is really something that we can't control that pricing, unfortunately. But we do try to highlight things on our blog and through our marketing to highlight the things out.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, I also think it's unreasonable that people are going to just keep spending money when prices go up this much. You know, we're in this really tough economic state where like we're going to expect this to happen if prices keep going up. And people might be downtown, but they might just be hanging out and not buying stuff because they can afford it. Yeah. And we want them to still come downtown and hang out, have space. Right?
Absolutely. And I will say, I mean, this is not data driven, but this is wholly anecdotally from the fact that I have eaten in, I think I'm in 55 different restaurants in the last 90 days. I've been having one-on-ones and just steadily trying to figure out each. It's been a real hardship. But I do think that there are different price points depending on where you want to go, and I think there's a pretty good mix actually in downtown Boulder. So you can have a super high-end cocktail that costs $18, or you can go and have like a $7 margarita somewhere else. So it just requires a little bit of exploration, and that means maybe there are more chances to come downtown. That's my option.
Well, just with the bigger picture of the impression of some safety issues and stuff downtown. And I remember seeing a report from last year about people who are in town versus people who come from the region or even just wider tourists. Are you working, is the Downtown Boulder Partnership doing anything with like the Visitors and Convention Bureau people to bring people into town in the first place?
Yes, absolutely. So Visit Boulder is one of our biggest partners. We collaborate on the Pearl Street Mall official guide that came out in January. I should have brought copies of that to distribute to you, but you can grab them at the kiosk at the Visitors Information Center or at the information kiosk on the 1200, 1300 block of Pearl Street. We do extensive marketing both in Boulder Market and also to a 30-mile driving range or 30-minute driving range. And we have extensive public relations efforts where we work with Visit Boulder so that they're taking one side of the market and we're taking another. So we work hand in hand with them. And this starting in March, the visitor center is open more days a week. It's actually open 7 days a week now. For January and February, it was only open on weekends. And in the summer months, we collaborate with Visit Boulder, and they provide staffing for the VIC. So their tourism-facing entity, trained hospitality workers will be working alongside our ambassadors at the VIC. We're also having a lot of conversations about connectivity to the new Moxie Hotel, which is scheduled to open in May or June. And of course, the Limelight Conference Hotel and Conference Center that's scheduled to open in 2026. So we're working with Visit Boulder and other community partners, as well as the Hill District, on how to make sure that people who are staying on the Hill come downtown, and that people downtown know how to get to the Moxie.
That was my next question with those two new facilities, if you'd been in conversation with them.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, Regan from Community Vitality and Terry from Downtown Boulder Partnership have been working on some pilot wayfinding signs that are going to go in. There's a sort of ad hoc group of downtown business owners and Visit Boulder personnel and staff. We had a very quick meeting with Nuria this morning talking about some of our opportunities, sites that we've observed for improving the walkways along Broadway Street and on the Arboretum path in the short term, while we wait for the civic area refresh to really get underway. And that plan is happening.
Which I plan to discuss more under matters from staff.
Oh, sorry to steal
Oh,
your
no,
thunder. And of course, all of the work that we're doing is guided by our Downtown Vision Plan, which I'm delighted to report was nominated. If you can go to the next slide. Downtown Colorado Inc., which is our statewide organization of downtown organizations. We were nominated for a Colorado Downtown Excellence Award. So that conference is taking place in Durango the first week of April, and we'll find out if we won. But it's always a joy, as they said on Sunday night, to be nominated, even if you don't win. And that really is a wonderful plan. So. And I think that concludes my my report. Oh, so one more thing. We are going to have a town hall meeting for all members of the bid at E-Town on May 2nd. This is going to be from 8:30 to 10. And the two topics that we're going to be discussing are public safety and downtown vibrancy. So we'll have a couple of panel discussions. We'll have District Attorney Michael Dougherty, Commander Mike Heath from Boulder Police Department, and Sheriff Curtis Johnson on a public safety panel. And then we're going to have some private real estate brokers who are going to talk about office vacancy and vibrancy trends, not just in Boulder and Denver metro region, but across the country. So I invite you to put that into your calendar. Be sending an invitation to that soon. Any questions?
There still is a meeting on Thursday.
Yes. Which will probably be on Zoom because of the weather, and I will send out a reminder about that.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Apologies about last time. If any other commissioners would also like to attend that meeting, we were attracted as well. So to give people exposure as well. Any other questions for Bettina? It looks like we have the Pearl Street Mall public bathroom discussion at the end. I don't know, Bettina, are you staying for this? So no more questions for Bettina. We'll move on to the matters from staff. It looks like the first matter is the 2022 final budget report.
Yes, so we'll put this is we're running low on time.
Yeah.
We don't really have a full presentation of it is here to really talk through kind of regarding something. We, as we're preparing to pick up the 25 process, pick up for that. So, I'm not sure if the highlights of sort of discussed, but as mentioned there, we are feeling like these us to. We are really pleased with the investment for the fund. Last year, we had budgeted $230,000 in revenue in foreign. As an example of things that are we also keep our spending in line with the source of the funds.
My apologies. Could someone move the laptop closer to Chris? I messaged Regan, but she's now gone. Thanks.
All right, Don. So we want to be able to preserve the fund balance for some upcoming work that Matt Shazansky is here to introduce related to some alternatives analysis and capital planning that we want to do for all of the general districts that we are managing. So if there aren't any questions about 2023 year end, or if, Elliot, if you have anything else to add, we can move on to Matt.
I think you covered everything, Chris. I appreciate it.
There you go.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pull up my screen to share for just a quick graphic to be the background of what I'm about to tell you. But you may recall, apologies for the recording, Matt Shazansky, I'm interim senior manager with Community Vitality. And you may recall that during the discussion of the work plan this year, that the alternatives analysis and capital plan was an important part of what we're going to be taking on this year. And so I just wanted to give some quick context, and we're running low on time, so I'll just fire it off. So you can ask any questions you have, give some advice, and then we'll have a request at the end. But this will be the subject of conversation for quite a while ahead of us. So we'll have plenty of chances to talk about it. But the alternatives analysis and capital planning project is going to be really a set of recommendations for financial decisions that everyone needs to make. We've got your computer here, Regan, don't worry. That really address the things we can affect, the levers we can pull in each of our general improvement districts in order to affect change. And on the one side, we have the revenue, the taxing that we do, the parking revenue, and how that impacts businesses and residents in our districts. On the other side, we have the services, the programs, the capital expenses that could provide the services that are a benefit to being in the district. And so what we want to do is to create that balance and make sure that's functioning in the circumstances we find ourselves in. So when we think about why we would do this now, the important things that are sort of general across all of the general improvement districts are things like the new circumstances after the pandemic, the retirement of debt that we were just talking about, the evolution of transportation options has become something that wasn't envisioned when these were set, new public safety challenges, and new opportunities like the Hill Hotel and the conference center. So circumstances have changed. The current state is new.
And Susan Newsom needing inspiration to stay on this.
Right. This is all exciting things that we want to wrestle with soon that you can't leave us. Okay. So in this project, what we hope to do is to first of all really understand the current state, analyze the data, understand exactly what the needs are right now. Also look at governance, make sure that we're in compliance, but also being most efficient and effective in how we make decisions about the districts. Then examine a future state. We need to have a vision for where we want to go to understand certainly new services and programs that need to come online over the next set of decades and how to afford those things, but really in particular the capital planning. In order to get everything prepared for doing new building, we need to really have a good vision of what new construction projects need to go on to continue to create the right circumstances in our districts. And that is not necessarily going to be, we're going to build this in this spot on this schedule. It's more like, what are the assets that we need so that we can do the further work to actually go through site design and build these things. And then another sort of related to that is the connections, right? Is that each of the districts needs to have stronger connections. We need to address new circumstances of mobility. And so that's going to be sort of the capital planning, and the connections are discrete parts of this study. So in order to do that visioning part of it, we need to have really strong engagement. And so we need to have a staff team. We need to get experts from across departments. We've already started that process to assemble the brain power we need to really understand this and move it forward, right? We need to have strong outreach to community stakeholders to build that vision with us. And we're going to need you to participate with us on this. So like I said, this is something that has a long timeline. We're thinking that this project is going to go through the third quarter of 2025. A lot of discussions need to happen. But one thing that we would love to do is in the coming months, assemble a subcommittee of all the general improvement districts, all 4 general improvement districts, to have the conversations with us to set this up right and get that visioning process started. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have about the scope and the project. But one thing we will be looking for is to assign 1 or 2 commissioners to serve on this subcommittee, super committee, whatever we want to call it. And that's not something that has to happen tonight. I know we have a process going on to extend the stay of certain important people in the room. But certainly by the May meeting, we would love to have representatives of DMC to serve on that committee. So any questions that you have about all of that?
Before we get to questions, I'd
Yep.
like to add some context.
Great.
Strategic Fund is all the districts that we manage our healthiest fund. We are going to be in a position with the retirement debt to the resources. In University Hill District, we're in a space where there's a pretty significant appetite these days for investment. They have a which is very challenging. So we have some conversations that have in and alternatives analysis with that context of resources. On the flip side, at Boulder Junction, a newer district, we are taxing for in both districts 15 mils. So we're down to 0.5 for Cajun. So a significant amount of property taxes at Boulder Junction, or their district obligations are a significant part of their overall. And so we need to have a conversation about making sure that we're right sizing that mill levy. There are a lot of reasons why it's been at where it's at, but we are also retiring debt for those districts this year as well. So we're at this new chapter that we want to make some changes and bring some recommendations to City Council, which really is the board of directors of each of the districts. And you all are the advisors to City Council on these decision processes. So we're going to be involved in that conversation as we make some pretty meaningful recommendations for each district. And so a lot more to come, but happy to answer questions and answer questions.
What's the structure?
We don't have a schedule yet, but it will be something that's responsive to the schedules of the people on the committee. So we will make it as easy to participate as possible, do as much as we can through email and online. I am not going to entertain anything that's more than a monthly meeting, even at the height of the project.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
There are no other questions. We'll certainly put Justin's name down. We'll, one is fine. Two is great.
I think we need to figure out with the monthly downtown partnership what's happening with that. I've gone to I missed one, but I've been going to all of them. curious about what downtown said is for the schedule. 2 monthly meetings.
That's sort of fine. We'll bring more material out, so more formal information, for the next meeting. And so certainly one of the things one would be great, but two.
3 is illegal, so.
All right, no more questions. We'll have the mic back over to Regan, for some specific updates.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's your idea.
Those never break
Okay. Sorry. Okay, better connecting the hill to downtown. I'm going to jump right into the next slide here. So the purpose of this work is that we're really trying to improve connectivity between the hill and downtown, both through implementing better wayfinding as well as exploring improvements to the physical landscape between the two areas. As many of us already know and we've discussed tonight, the hill is undergoing a lot of changes, especially with the opening of the Moxie Boulder this upcoming spring, and then thereafter the Limelight Hotel and Conference Center in 2025. So this will of course create more foot traffic and visitation to both of these areas. And with that, the outcomes we're trying to achieve include helping visitors feel a sense of safety and welcoming, ensuring that visitors can easily navigate the area, and then lastly, enhancing the vitality and generating that positive economic growth for both the hill and downtown. So with that, and as Bettina already referenced, we're working on implementing pedestrian wayfinding. And in an effort to really get this wayfinding signage up quickly with the anticipation of increased visitors and foot traffic, we'll be replicating the existing wayfinding signage that is currently installed in and around downtown, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So we'll be installing it in and around the hill, as well as on the central corridors that connect the hill to downtown. And so an example of the signage, again, I'm sure many of you have seen it, is on the right-hand side here. And so what we're currently doing is finalizing locations for the signage, as well as landmarks that the signage will point to. But the intent is to not only place it within the Hill Commercial District, but on the central corridor, so Broadway, along 13th and 11th Streets, really those main connection points to downtown. And the idea is that it'll likely be double-sided so that it points to the Hill Commercial District in one direction, and then when you're heading downtown, it kind of points to some of those key landmarks, so Pearl Street, the Civic area, Bandshell, etc.
Down there.
Pearl Street Mall, potentially?
The mall.
Yeah, I think so, yep. And so just want to note also, though, that this is really a temporary solution. We're kind of treating it as a pilot, just because it can be implemented very quickly. And the intent is that we're going to strategize something a little bit longer, something longer term, larger in scale, more engaging signage that is maybe a bit better than just signage with arrows. So something like, think of in Boulder Junction. I don't know if you all have seen the new gateway signage out in Boulder Junction. There's vehicular gateway signage and pedestrian signage. It's kind of artistic and really engaging. So something similar to that in the future. So just briefly going over next steps, again, implementing this temporary signage, which I just discussed. We are also exploring some painting the pavement initiatives in certain areas. So for example, we are currently in discussions with the Moxie developers to potentially install a creative artistic crosswalk at Pleasant Street and Broadway. they're required per their development agreement to install a standard crosswalk. So we're working with them to see if they'd be interested in doing something a little bit more creative there. And then we intend on investigating where we can install new murals, working with Streetwise. We're working super closely with the forestry department to assess tree canopy improvements and potentially planting more trees, looking at where we need to maybe install new grates and tree guards in the future as well. And then other city-led initiatives, the Civic Area Phase 2 project, which is being led by the planning department with support from other city departments. That a key component of that is exploring connectivity improvements between the Hill and downtown. Later in the year, and also on my work plan, is to investigate what a cultural corridor might look like along 13th Street with connection to Pearl Street. And then lastly, led by the planning department as well, improvements to the Arboretum Park. And then looking a bit further ahead, as I already referenced, strategizing a longer term, more engaging wayfinding strategy, connecting the Hill to downtown. But that's kind of where we're at now, and I anticipate the pilot, the temporary signage to be installed within the next 2 to 3 months. We're working closely with DVP to really get this off the ground running quickly. Yeah, any questions? In the downtown garages pointing up to the hill? I don't see why we couldn't do something like that. We can definitely explore it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll take note of that and we can bring that up.
I think Justin wants to know why it doesn't point to the sundown.
Also for the hotel itself, to what extent can they, or like the signage, is it going to be like right near the hotel? So we're encouraging people to not be driving, or maybe, I don't know, we want people to be driving, and so they park in the garages, they're gonna drive. Or are we like encouraging walking, right in front of the hotel? Curious what type of like communication signage near the hotel itself.
Oh, near the hotel.
along
Near the hotel itself will likely point to the Hill Commercial District is this way, and then I imagine downtown as well. Yeah, we're still finalizing the landmarks that are going on each of the signage locations, and then we have to go out and physically walk the area to see if there a lamppost here that we can install the signage on. And so those details are still being worked out, but yeah, it'll point to the Hill Commercial District and then downtown near the Hill Hotel.
So do you know if there's B-cycle near there?
The B-cycle state.
It's not. Yeah, that seems interesting just because people who are staying there aren't going to be bicycles with them.
Right.
So
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
other creative ways to get people to like use alternative transport, perhaps scooters. That's not a bad thing if you want, but I think scooters are not going to be on the bike path, right? Or are they? Yeah, are they?
I don't know. I think they're
Yeah, okay, they are. Yeah. Certainly don't put them up front.
good. Yeah, thank you.
All right. We have one more comment. Quick, downtown.
The bathroom?
I would be very brief that just an update on the park program that is supposed to So this is, a project that was done by community members in honor. Many years ago. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. So the sculpture will be installed soon, and we'll give you a full update at the May meeting when that's done. And there will be an anniversary event, so we'll make sure everyone has an invitation to that.
Do you have an update on the public art that's going on inside?
I do have an update on the Spruce Garage project. They're in design right now, and they actually had to slow down because there was some research had to be done on the structure of the wall that they're installing on. That's being done currently, and so we should still be on track for an installation later this year, unless we find something unfortunate in the works. But right now, we are hopeful and optimistic that we're on track for installations.
So that's matters from staff. We do have faster discussion from
So first item we talked from the board meeting, I unfortunately missed it, so there is no.
Tina, everything you shared today was the most recent. Any highlights from that meeting, perhaps that we should know about? Wasn't there? What was the general topic and theme?
No, I mean, I think that the topic of safety, of course, continues to arise. The downtown community really was put taken aback by the two robberies. That really cast a pall over, especially the jewelry stores and retailers. People have been a little bit fearful. That combined with the sort of the doldrums of January and February made for a little bit of a challenging atmosphere, I would say, this quarter. So we're looking at
City council request top DMC priority. So I'm assuming that folks have read that. On it, see if it reflects on it.
what's that good was took in all the inputs that we received from all commissioners. Top three. As much as I can in real time, like try not to do that in a public meeting. But
Wait, one comment. I wonder if we should put anything in here about the continued vacancy.
We have, on the commission itself, yeah. That's a good idea. It's not
Because-
really our top priority thing.
Well, maybe it should be,
Yeah.
because we've had constant issues with having a full. Yeah. So, and city council, I guess maybe that would change the city manager priority or responsibility in the future, but I think it's become an issue. We haven't had a full slate for years.
Yeah, we don't have full attendance. bring like this to a forum, if not, and I think the commission goal, as I understand it, that, you know, represents them in the general public and without much business representation of those seats being open, except for Don. I don't feel like it's particularly representative of what we're trying to do. So is city council the best person to take, the best body to take that to, or sort of make?
I wonder if we could give something to Bettina to circulate as well.
She
But
did.
then
I
she
mean,
did.
you go up to individual business owners, see if they join, which is a successful tactic. That takes a lot.
So I might offer, purpose of this letter is to inform, a search for the. So while the issue of the not just on the things for everything, but this opportunity and that's okay. That's it's not we are glad to edit this.
I personally don't think it meets the standard of like city priority, but I would like to escalate it somehow. It does call into question, like whether is represented that we want. I think I want to know. But I don't think it is, this letter is not designed for issues of that nature. Right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. However, is there?
Is there another?
Yes. I would, so we have the commissioner appointment. We highlight not just the vacancies on BMC, but there's another commission that they're prioritizing and the vacancies. We did have more volunteer applications this round than we've had since before COVID. And it was very curious to us. We have several applications for Boulder actually to fill those seats. And we had several applications for UCMC we're gonna fill those seats. Which so it was really surprising that
For those business owners, see some of them?
some of them, yes. So it was really curious that we did not get any applications for GMC because we had 9 applications for Arts Commission for 1 open seat. 7. Okay.
Just tell them that they're on the Arts Commission.
Exactly. So maybe I would request that we see how this next round goes because now we're really focused on just the few vacancies that are left.
Yeah.
We might be really successful in getting a lot of applications for a really targeted approach.
Okay. Sure.
So the ask of usage will not be too much longer. If that doesn't go well, then we'll know soon. Then certainly we'll want to incorporate that also partially into our conversation on the social side. Right. For instance, Boulder Junction had 2 commissions of 5 seats that we filled in a really small district.
Yeah.
So it is hugely challenging. Multiple commissions. So we certainly.
How is the business owner requirement? How is that set, or what's the governing?
So if someone needs to be physical property owner, so it's not a business owner. It's owner of the business. Use that.
You could, my question is more, how is that division? 3 and 2?
Oh,
Can we
so-
change it?
No, so that's set by state statute. Because it is the property owners who pay taxes. So majority. The taxpayers.
Then could Justin switch to a business owner seat to, oh,
So not this.
sorry, can he switch his seat
If-
so that he's not a
If there
citizen?
is a business. So, if there's a property owner, in downtown Portland. Or anyone else in their proxy.
Yeah.
That person is. Anybody that gets a designation as from a property owner saying, this is who I. Is
Okay, could we close that topic for now and go back to this one? I can put here back. Could we put that on the next agenda? To get us good on that. In terms of this letter, does anyone have any more feedback, or is there a motion to accept the letter?
I maybe had one, this is the smallest of like small things. The very last point. 4th line down, improve connections to University Hill Commercial District. I'd put the words "and conference center." And enforcing rules to maintain order. Just to try to get the conference center in there to help plan ahead.
We will gladly make that edit for the.
Maybe we need to get rid of word "and," just like comma, all in the goal of enforcing rules to maintain order. Or something, just because now we got 2 ands in a row.
Another potential comment I have, I don't know if it will help or if it matters that much, but my understanding of downtown safety concerns, actual safety concerns and then perception of safety, which I think are 2 different things. And you might be looking at crime stats and they might not be that different or worse year over year, right? But so someone might respond, well, it's not actually less safe. It's a perception issue, so I might want to add more nuance to the first point, because it's not just about safety, but I think it's about making people feel safe, which is a bit different.
Yeah, you could say ensuring the safety and perception of safety.
Oh, which one?
The
This first one. It definitely sounds very strong. Like you're a very unsafe place to live, which isn't really true.
right.
Ensuring the safety of residents, visitors, and businesses in our downtown is paramount. Yeah, it does sound strong. Like this is a very unsafe place to live, which is not the case, but I think people feel things that might be just worth. It might be worth saying that outright. But.
Yeah, I think that's another point.
What about instead of as it was like what the change that was just done? What if we put it at the end? In our downtown area is paramount, and people don't feel safe now, or there's not a perception of safety now.
I'm not sure it's widespread enough for us to be able to make that statement.
Okay, I'm fine with it as is.
Those 2 changes.
Motion away.
Sorry, the little still needs Robert. Okay. So I say.
You have to wait for.
Yeah.
This much.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, staff. This is good to go. Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, our final item on the matters commissioners, this is just a Pearl Street Mall public bathroom discussion. Um, which we only have 10 minutes left, and we want to end on time or early. I believe I put the item on the agenda, unless someone else did. Okay. This item came out of a conversation that I had not too long ago around the public restroom. I have never thought to once use because I know where to go to the bathroom and I realize I'm a Boulder resident and not a tourist who might not have other options or know where other options are. So I think that got to the discussion, which I think was perhaps escalated to your meeting. It sounded like not the way that I intended it to be, which was maybe a side discussion with you. To talk about perhaps creative solutions like we have in the past about doing temporary, I know they're not supposed to be that 45. What is it called?
Restroom trailer.
Restroom trailer, thank you. Restroom trailers like at the farmer's market. But I do think it's just an interesting topic to elevate. I had a conversation with the downtown ambassador, almost at the point of tears about how he thought that the facilities were just not designed for tourists and that people had nowhere to go, and he felt embarrassed about that. And in high tourist seasons, when the weather's nicer, I wanted to bring up the topic of perhaps doing something creative as an alternative bathroom option for tourists, as we did with the farm farm. So that is the topic to discuss. I think it's been a sore thumb on the downtown, and curious what is happening. There's a lot of discussion around better monitoring it for drug use, but not how do we address where do people go who are visiting Boulder? Where do they go to the bathroom? They're not likely going there. So I'm curious about if people have thoughts about this and maybe what next steps we could explore.
Well, would you not, there's potential that you would have the same issue with the restroom trailer as the building.
For
That
sure.
people use it for activities.
Well, you have to actually have rules and enforce them. You could leave it unattended. Yeah. And I don't know how, I'd be curious to hear what happens after that. But I don't also think it's right that there are people that will take meth and go to the bathroom and then no one can see the bathroom. Like that, a couple of people access to the public.
So I can share the as we spend that amount of money, certainly calls the question which is certainly, within the realm. I guess our big is the previously written is there, locking if we were to explore
Higher at that.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff to- and stuff. And the downtown bastards are like cleaning it all the time, right? That's the distraction for them. For one.
There's a cleaning service that comes in and cleans it up. Not on Sundays. Every meeting. But the answer is, it's a staffed facility. And that's the answer that is coming up in every community across the country. I was just recently at a conference. And Starbucks has changed their policy about letting people use their bathrooms. And this is affecting public space management professionals all over the country because you can't even go into a Starbucks. So we don't have any Starbucks again. Sort of an interesting economic situation for us, but it also means we rely on the Capital One Cafe, we work with businesses. They see that.
So something longer term that is in the conversation is what role does play, not necessarily bathrooms, but access to that include bathrooms or that's all the conversation. It's fair to say that putting an attention to that. Makes sense. Long term.
Yes.
So still think about it.
It could be like locked.
Space in order to access that. Not just the work that, but as the maybe that's. Sorry that I'm.
For vacancy.
I'd say that is. There are other pathways in downtown that currently access. Those people who just reopened their stations, so they're there. We have bathrooms in our and that's the most those restrooms in general is part of the broader solution, so it's not just the water.
Yeah.
Meeting as a conversation,
The business. So, well, as much as I don't want to continue that for you, I do want to stay on top of it because I think we have to be super big. Even though. But it's hard to hear. Vague. All the time. It's just awkward feeling of unfriendly, which I think that's unintentional. You know, but no, maybe by rushing because they don't want it to vandalize. That's the real fear. So if we keep talking about this, I wish we could do something like put money in something that would be effective, and I'd like to explore that. If not that I won't spend extra money, but I do think that this is a real thing that like affects our ability to be a place where people. Yeah.
Well, so I'll offer that we will continue on the staff side. We wrote this letter. It was based on your input.
Yeah.
We didn't write this without helping you to vote for it. So you're delighted to raise these. As Eric.
Yeah, and I think one more point to that is just, we have been longtime fans, ambassadors, and we also want them to be doing like meaningful work where they connect with people and that we have good retention and that people know them, they respect them, right? And like, if they're doing this stuff, they're not doing that. And that was obvious in my conversation, that it was just a huge downer and that, it would impact really, it is a distracting thing for them, I think, to have to do that. So my recommendation is that we don't put that on them, we take that out of their role, you know. Very distracting.
I appreciate those kind words, and I think you're absolutely right. But it also does their job to make sure that there are no biohazards.
Yeah, that's
They
important.
in fact track the number of biohazards that they remove that are outside of the bathrooms. So we want to advocate that people do use the bathrooms for their intended purpose too. So there's a lot of nuance. We could certainly talk about this offline.
Women are using them. Yeah.
You don't want
Okay, yeah, let's, thank you for at least my idea as well.
Very nice.
Okay, so, I think, and there are other matters, commissioners? Okay, do I have, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sure, I'll move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Aye.
meeting is adjourned.